Hi everyone, no news today, so let's get straight into the data and charts. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. Looking at the Fear and Greed Index, we got a 42 from a 39, so a little bit of a step up. We did get into regular fear, and we still are there. I still think we're going to go a little bit lower. This could just be hesitancy. Still looking for that 125 EMA at 53.43. Which is about 130 points lower from current. Strength still hovering in greed, breadth still hovering in extreme greed. So those are the last two remaining ones. I think those will dip into at least neutral, but we'll see how it plays. And then put call ratio continues to elevate here to a 0.8. Want to see this eclipse that 0.9 area. We'll see. And then volatility pulled back slightly after hitting that 22.5 on Friday. Again, we got a higher low. We'll see if it does it again. And then looking at bonds, these started to level out here a little bit. Neutral now on the safe haven demand. So bonds and stocks over the last 20 days have flattened out. And then looking at junk bond demand, still extreme fear here. People are still demanding those higher yields for bonds. Moving over to seasonality, you can see we bottomed out almost when we expected to. The 10th was supposed to be the low. It seems like we found a little bit of a bottom on the 9th. And then we'll see if we get this ramp here into the end of the week. Friday is supposed to be pretty much the high point. Goes a little bit higher on the 20th, but generally flat between that time period. And then we see a little bit of a fall into the end of the month. So looking at this rally period here into the end of this week. Looking at the economic calendar, you can see nothing here for today. Atlanta Fed GDP for Q3. Expectation is now 2.5, a little better than the 2.1 expected, so that's good to see. Maybe that's part of why markets were able to hold up on those gains today. And then looking at 3-year note auction here for tomorrow, fairly interesting. And then Wednesday, probably the biggest one for the week, we have CPI. I feel like this is becoming less and less important now that we've kind of accepted that inflation is trending lower and probably going to continue to do so. You can see that year over year number is expected to hit that 2.6 area, down from a 2.9. That is a big drop. Core number was 3.2 previous. Want to see that drop as well. There's currently not an expectation there. But the month over month core is expected to stay flat at 0.2. So we'll see how that plays. Overall, still looks good. 10-year note auction, 3.9 was the previous. We'll see if that stays flat as we continue along on that inflation data, and then Fed balance sheet and 30-year note auction for Thursday. Moving over to the put call ratio, max pain was actually down this weekend, so we couldn't do it in the weekend video, but it is here and it is now, and we are right there. 547 was max pain for the Friday session, and that's where we are right now. So interesting to see that. Also, put call ratio, super high at a 4.3. Very rare to see that. A lot of those are super out of the market. So 455, 465. Remember, stock price here is at 547. So way out of the money, 505. But understand that that does have an effect on markets, tends to prop up markets. So maybe we see a little bit more bullishness this week. 550 is the first put wall. Calls up here at 560. So again, that gives you a little bit of room to the upside potentially. Moving over to the charts, looking at the S&Ps, you can see we hit this trend line on Friday, broke those two, touched this one almost to the penny, and then we gapped up and rallied a little bit on the day, 1.16%, pretty strong there. Momentum still downtrending, but very flat. Went from 16.9 to 18.2, so very flat. Usually that's when you start to see just a little bit of a retracement. I wouldn't expect it to be anything crazy. I would look for a retest of this SMA. Once we hit that on this RSI, that is when I'm expecting a bigger down move. Doesn't mean that we'll make it all the way there. You can see these kind of down moves here, slight retracement, down move, slight retracement, down move. Similar to this, get very close to it. That's the range that you're looking if you're trying to play this up move here, which it does seem like a reasonable play. In terms of levels right now, your trend resistance would be that 55.39 area right here, 9 EMA, 21 EMA, VWAP, all sitting in this kind of range. In terms of levels, your upper resistance obviously is going to be that 200 at 555.84. If this continues to rally into that zone, that's when you would expect markets to fail. Also looking at RSI, we're about halfway to overbought conditions. Once you hit overbought on a downtrend, that's usually a pretty good time to start selling. So looking for probably one more up day, potentially two, similar to this previous consolidation where you just kind of hang in there, get the next down move. Similarly here, one candle, inside candle, which is a bullish pattern, one, maybe two more, and then start to see that rejection. So in terms of levels, 544 is your support, got some trend support in there. 550 is your resistance, and then your price target to the upside if this breaks is that 554.87 level. Moving over to the Tasty charts here on the 4-hour, you can see we are getting very close to that 21 EMA, getting very close to the mid-range on this chart. Again, that is an interesting zone. That's when you start to see some resistance. You can also see this bottom previously here was at 549.70, so interesting zone there. Again, that's only about $2 higher. Start to get into that range, might see some resistance. ATR trailing stop right now is at 551.68, so that's another area where you could see resistance. See how it plays. That's an interesting zone. Either way, that gives you about another 1% potential up move before you hit major resistance. So short term, very short term, bullish. Just be cautious. Once you start to see that reversal, we are expecting this to continue to roll down. You can see these ATR bands are very much trending lower. Moving over to the NASDAQ, similar thesis here. Retested that 144 EMA. That was at 18,678. Found resistance there, inside candle. Again, expecting at least a little bit more up move off of that inside candle. Similar to here, where you get a down move, inside candle, at least one more candle of up. Doesn't mean that it's going to push here immediately, but certainly could give you a little bit more continuation there. Momentum, again, similar to the SPY, basically flat. And then looking at those shorter term charts here, you can see the big down move. The bottom of that down move was 458.24, going to be a major resistance if we do push through this 55 EMA here. That's at 456.03. So looking to see if that breaks, pushes to that previous kind of double bottom before the bigger breakdown. If it gets there and it holds as resistance, this is going to be catastrophic to the downside. So one more day of up move, touch that area. Again, you can see very much a downtrend on the hourly chart. 144, 200, way up there. All the EMAs are consolidated. And then looking at that daily chart, the 200 is sitting as your next dynamic support, all the way down at 441.70. And then looking at the Tasty charts here, you can see that ATR resistance, 462.76. That would give you about another $7 or so of upside. That would eclipse this previous consolidation low that we were just looking at, but that would be basically in line with these highs, which is what it's trading off of. You can see this consolidation high. That's where the ATR trailing stop is. If we take that out, then it's a change of conditions, right? So you take out the previous high, then you get back into bullish conditions. Right now, we'll see how that plays. Looking for that one more up move. You also have the 34 EMA sitting in there at 460.62. Another potential zone of resistance if this 21 and middle of the range break, which is sitting at 456.53. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow. Russell had a 0.28 up move. Momentum still bearish here, but it did hold support at 208.22. Got back above that level. It's up a little bit more after hours. Momentum still bearish. RSI still looking for a retest of that SMA, which is now downtrending, so that's not great. Overall, you would still be looking for a lower high setup, maybe a push into this 212.10 level now that this gap here is filled back to the 14th. So we'll see how that plays. And then looking at the Dow, 1.13%, much better candle. Momentum basically flat, still holding that 21 EMA after the gap up. 21 is sitting at 407.38. This chart is really kind of hard to read, to be honest. It's this slow grinding price action. It is widening on the trend a little bit. Maybe you need to adjust this actually. If we put it right there at the top, it looks a little better, but still seems to be widening just slightly. If we get there, that trend resistance is going to be 417. If it breaks down from here, which it could, already tested the 9 EMA, then we'd be looking back for that 398.76 level that we've been looking for. Moving over to Apple and Tesla. Apple was basically flat. Momentum still a little bit bearish. Tested support, so we're still in this trading range. It's really not been doing much since we had that lower high. You would expect a bigger breakdown, but it really hasn't done it yet. We're below all the short-term EMAs. Again, another bearish indicator, but really this just has not gone. It continues to find support in that 217.68 level. So until that breaks, we're still in a consolidation here. And then looking at Microsoft, inside candle after the big down move, momentum basically flat. And then similar thesis here on RSI. It is downtrending, but looking for that retest, and then we'll see what happens after that. Moving over to Tesla and NVIDIA. Tesla actually had an inside candle as well, and it held the level at 214, and it's up a little bit after hours. Tesla looking pretty interesting after this breakout. Very powerful rejection, holding the higher low, holding the 21. Tesla actually looks really solid here going into tomorrow's session. Want to see it get above that 55 there at 220.43, but if it can push here, we could get another retest of that 232.57 level. And then if that area breaks, then you could see a potential push up to that 255.44 level if this 232.57 level breaks and we do get that continuation. So something to watch here. Tesla actually looking quite good. I had this structure on Tesla. You can see it here. We hit that high, we pulled to the low, established this kind of trend range. And if you get a continuation, there's a lot of upside potential on this trend. So something to watch there on Tesla. And then looking at NVIDIA, you can see we're getting a bit of a consolidation, and we did see a step towards bullish momentum. You love to see that. That could be very interesting here on NVIDIA. Obviously, the stock is super bullish. It's pulled back pretty dramatically off of its 140 peaks here. Hitting that 144 EMA, finding an inside candle, finding some support in there. It's above this level after hours. NVIDIA could have a pretty solid upswing. If we retest this trend, that would give you a 414 price target, which is pretty solid. That's almost $10 of upside. Something to watch there on NVIDIA. Again, you're probably going to find rejection off of that SMA on the RSI, but in the short term, there's a little bit of a move there to be had. Moving over to Amazon and Google. Amazon turning in a positive day. Again, holding that support 174.23. So we gapped back to it, rallied in there. Need that level to hold. It's holding after hours, looking for a little bit more push there. Momentum slightly bullish. RSI actually looks a little better. And then looking at Google, this continues to be a dumpster fire. We talked about it. It continues to follow through on that move. Big down move, bear flag, big down move, continuation. Your next price target is 143.82. Is it going to do that quickly? I don't know. It's super oversold at this point on the daily chart, 26.43 on the RSI. Don't see that super often. This previous low was 27.5. And we are already below that. So definitely could be concluding here soon. Something to watch. Still looking for this gap fill back to that level. Again, that's the same level, 143.82. Moving over to staples and discretionary. Staples having another strong day coming off of that 9 EMA. So we had 2 days consolidation, pushed up, same as last time. Based on that, a couple more days maybe. New all-time high close, new all-time high wicks. Still super overbought, still seeing a little bit of divergence, but staples continues to be a rocket ship. And then discretionaries, inside candle, still in this consolidation, no clear direction. Based off this move, you're looking for a retest and a breakdown. If it gets above the trend, then you're looking for 189.38. Moving over to oil and gas and industrials, I just like to keep my pulse here on oil and gas. This has been a dumpster fire for 5 days in a row. Interesting, bearish momentum, bearish RSI, continues to look pretty awful. But this is a critical zone here. You got some trend support, you got a level, 128 flat. We overthrew that just barely back here on 5 August low, which was at 127.75, so overthrew it by 25 cents. Critical zone there. You can see this was the bottom back here in December of 23 as well. So oil and gas, critical zone. If it breaks through, we're probably going back down here to the 116s. And then if we get that low, that is absolutely a buying opportunity for oil and gas. Even in a depressionary environment, that is a super low level for this ETF. And even here is pretty opportunistic in my opinion. So something to watch here on oil and gas. Don't jump in quite yet. It still looks awful. Want to see it hold a little bit. And then looking at industrials, this sector has kind of been going sideways a little bit. It had a bit of a rally back here on 30 August. We had a bit of a breakout, got new all-time highs, but then we were back into this consolidation. Held the level on the test, 125.98, up candle here, so maybe we're getting some continuation. In terms of indicators, momentum, looking for a bit of an upswing. RSI, same thesis, downtrending, looking for a retest. Then we'll see what happens after that. Still very much an uptrend. It's above all the EMAs except for the 9, so want to see a little bit more continuation. Just for a little bit of history here, we were in this really powerful rally, had a lot of sideways chop from back here in March of 24, all the way really until August of 24, so sideways choppy action. Now we're looking to see if this can go any higher. Moving over to breadth, we said this 20-day breadth was getting into a zone of support around here, the 40. I thought we might go a little lower, somewhere between 32 and 38 in this kind of range here. At least touch the level at 36.60. Hasn't quite happened. Momentum is still bearish, so we could see another down candle. RSI trending higher, looking for the SMA test, similar to this. Then we'll see what happens. If the SMA flattens out, you could see an up move, but that's not happening yet. Right now, looking for the retest and a further breakdown. And then looking at the 50-day, similarly, inside candle, got back above the 62.25 level. This zone was interesting. We talked about it as a zone of support here. It was the high in June. It was a consolidation high in August, and then we touched it here again. So interesting momentum, still bearish. RSI, same setup as everything else. Moving over to the dollar is obviously bullish at this point. This is a clear bottom, looks very good. Powerful day here today, 0.41. You can see this low, double bottom, arguably, huge wick, definite demand in that zone. RSI looks bullish, momentum bullish. This looks good on the dollar. Definitely looking for a push. It was very oversold, looking for a relief rally. The bottom of this previous consolidation was up around the 102.5 area. My level would be 102.98. We'll look at that. Right now it's at the 21 as resistance. Want to see it push through there. Might consolidate a little bit more, but definitely looking for a short-term bottom at a minimum here in the dollar and a couple of days of up move with some substantial moves into this zone. Moving over to the 2-year and the 10-year, really these did not move here at all, but the 10-year did move a little bit lower. Not quite back to inverted, but very, very close. 3.7, 3.67. Got that 10-year note auction this week. See if we go back inverted from there. I really don't think that that's going to happen, but it could be interesting. We're kind of in that flat yield curve right now. Technically normal, but very flat. Moving over to bonds. Bonds continue to do well. Another update on both of these, 0.22 and 0.43. Hopefully you've been buying these. I've been banging the drum on this for months, telling you to buy bonds. I've been buying them constantly in my retirement accounts, every single month, buying hundreds of dollars worth of bonds. And I do think that these are going to continue to go higher in the short term at the very least, probably into the medium term. TLT pushing that 100 level, closed 1 penny below it, obviously a huge psychological level. Tested it Friday, right there once again, looking for a further push. Think it's going to do it. Momentum bullish, RSI bullish. And then J&K, momentum swinging back to bullish, RSI not super great, but the trend is back to bullish. We're back above that 9 EMA. Your next level is all the way up here at 97.69. Moving over to the VIX, down a little bit, still in the same consolidation. I thought we might get a little bit of continuation off that Friday candle. Didn't happen, step to bearish momentum, so probably going to see a little bit more pullback. I guess we're not going to see that huge push. At this point, you would expect a little bit more pullback. Probably not going to hit that 28.89 area. It's not impossible, but once this momentum starts to roll, usually the VIX has some follow through. You don't see it too often where you get a move down and a spike and then a further move down. Usually it's fairly linear on the VIX. It's not impossible. We've seen it kind of here with a down move, steps down and then continuation, steps down, slight continuation here. So again, not impossible, but structurally it doesn't look as good today as it did on Friday. Moving over to my account, somehow I managed to make money. I got squeezed on the day pretty aggressively. I did roll out to 452 on the Qs. For $4 credit, still some room for profit there. Can continue to roll out if I need to. See how the price action goes. Really only looking for 1, maybe 2 days of bullishness. But of course, price action is king. If it continues to look strong, we'll continue to play it. And then the IWM, I just forgot to roll this call out. So that's super bummer. It means these shares are going to get called away, 208 calls. Still made money on them, $62, which is fine, but really I should have rolled this out to 209 for tomorrow, but I didn't. So these are going to get called away. I'm going to have to reestablish. So we'll see how that plays over the next day or two. Maybe I'll sell the puts. Maybe I'll get back into a covered call. Depends on the price action once again. Everything looks a little bit bullish going into tomorrow's session, so I'll keep that in mind as I go. Overall, deltas relatively mild here, 51 deltas on the Qs. Being relatively cautious because this is still a downtrend, but we are getting some short-term bullish action. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of the charts. Are we going to see 1 or 2 more days of up move, or is this going to be a change of structure? Definitely let me know. Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.